Okay, and we are live. Let me do this and fix the thing and also make a post, and you can say hi to people.
Hello, people. We are back. Now, by the way, I know that we've done Bootleg Weekly twice now on Friday. This time is entirely my fault. Life happens, but we still want to do the show. We are going to try to do it on Tuesday most of the time. Probably once a month, there's going to be a time when we'll just have to move it around. But thank you guys for being with us. Tonight, what we're going to be talking about as far as some main topics, there's a lot of BMNR stuff to talk about. Tevis and I have some very different opinions. He's wrong and I'm right, but we're going to talk about why. And there's some Nebius news and some very interesting things that are happening in that space. We might talk a little bit about software as a service and some software plays out there that appear to be undervalued. It's a sector that's been beaten up quite a bit. And there's also some SoFi news that we'll touch on. Probably some other topics mixed in there. And as always, at the end of the show, we try to get into your Q&A, whether they're related to what we're talking about or not. We'll answer you. Sometimes the answer is we don't know or we've never heard of that before. So, but anyway, thank you guys for being with us here today. Tevis, how are you?
That was a really good intro, man.
Thanks.
You're getting really good at those. I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm doing well. I was a little bit of a hectic day, just running around. I think my camera's not lighted properly. Cheers. Yeah, I'm only having water today.
Good, man.
Yeah, had too much drinking this week, unfortunately.
Well, while we're just getting started, how are you doing so far this year as far as your portfolio? Has anything really surprised you so far this year, either direction?
I think I'm up 21% or something. Because my portfolio is a lot of Nebius. But I don't know, man. I hope it keeps running for a while. I'm still untangling myself from the mess I got myself in November and December, where the market sold off and I just went really heavy on the cash secured puts, and I closed out a batch today. You actually want to see one of the absolute sexiest photo here. Let me show you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this or not. I posted about this today. Opened this, sold this to open for $25.50 at 110 put for today. And I closed it earlier today for $1.70. So banked about $23 of premium there.
Oh, nice.
Of course, you're writing deep in the money puts. And the funny part is, back here, November 12th, I said the sell-off is dumb and overdone. I don't care who says anything otherwise. And there was a bunch of people who were like, this is a bad move, blah, blah, blah. You're being diluted. It's just, you're being too emotional and this and that. And I'm just like, see you at $20. And that one worked out. I have a bunch more Nebius for 110 for Feb 20th and 115 for Feb 20th. So if Nebius does go, in fact, to 120 or 130, I'm going to be closing those out, and all of my margin problems are solved. It's not real margin, but you know what I'm saying. If everything was to get assigned, I would be in margin, but I still have a month out on those ones. So definitely want to solve that first. I did take assignment of some SoFi today, though, at $30 a share.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
You're crushing it. Up 20% is great. I'm up closer to 10%. PayPal has been its typical self. There's been a lot of laggards, and then there's been a few that have just really run. But I think the biggest surprise, maybe there's two that I can do. One is very positive, but it's also negative. You remember me talking about Figure quite a bit, and I'm like, hey, this is a great opportunity. Definitely. And then when I gave you Air Test Systems, I'm like, this would be my second choice, but I don't own any yet. I've written cash secured puts. I wrote them at 35. I think it was when it was $40. Actually, no, it's right here, December 17th. Basically, I wrote them at the bottom, and yeah, it's off to the moon. So that's really frustrating, and I was an idiot because I wrote multiple cash secured puts. What I should have done is just bought half the position because I wanted a position, and then wrote the rest puts. and I'd be sitting up really nicely. I'm still sitting up, nicely with premium, but I mean, that's nothing compared to the gains here. And it's been like, I figured well, no pun intended there, would do really well this year, but not like 100% gains in a month. So, yeah, I mean, it's one thing to get it right, but I didn't really benefit much. Like, a few $100. It's like, woo, maybe 1,000 on the puts. I don't know. But so the other one has been a positive story. So Air Test Systems, we'll talk a little bit about this tonight, but just the price movement has kind of surprised me. So earnings, the numbers and everything are trash. It's more about what they talked about bookings and what's happening in the space. And so I ended up, we talked, I think last time, did I tell you I went on margin?
You said you were going to make it 10% of your portfolio. I can't remember the margin part, but maybe you did.
Yeah, I don't do margin, but I did here at I think I ended up buying at 21 because I'm like, this sell-off is stupid, and the market tends to be slow reacting to air news because it's less followed. And I didn't think that we'd be up 30% year to date until they did announce another set of orders for one of their units, the Sonoma units. But I figured that the market would at least want to see bookings first. Now we're going to talk, by the way, we have a show after this with Steve. We're still trying to figure out the name of it at 9 p.m. today, guys. So we're going to save a lot of the AI stuff, the TSMC ramifications and so forth, more for that show. But yeah, that the price movement of these has just really surprised me. I didn't expect that. And also kind of a negative, I guess. I was thinking that there might at least be some sort of a dead cat bounce on PayPal, because I was like, okay, tax loss harvesting, it's no longer the case now. We're in January, and it's like, no, relentless downgrades, radio silence from them completely. Analysts are, just being ruthless, and frankly, probably at least half of it's really deserved. So,
yeah. Thank you, AV, for the $10. Check out ticker symbol CEPT. Securitized SPAC has 20% market share, tokenization pure play, backed by BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, ARK, up 15% this week.
A lot of the tokenized plays and tokenization plays have gotten a lift at the same time that Ethereum hasn't. So, Figure is benefiting from that. It's not, some of it was it's undervalued. Some of it's they launch another piece of their platform. Basically, they're ahead of where a lot of people thought that they should be for HELOCs. But yeah, the tokenization of real world assets is definitely a theme that's in the market this year. So yeah, I'll never heard of that one, but have to
check it out.
Yeah. Radar, actually. I'm going to put that right here.
Crypto charts are looking pretty good, so BMNR would be a great buy right here, possibly pretty low MNAV as well, question mark. We'll answer this. Absolutely, because we're going to talk BMNR as well in this chat.
Let's maybe, start talking about that now, or do you want to hit Nebius first?
Let me hit Nebius first. Start off good news and then bum myself out. Nebius signed are you going to talk about the ClickHouse partnership?
Yeah.
Let me pull that up.
You go ahead.
So we had rumors a couple of days ago around Nebius. And this is why I say, I've said it in my videos as well, Nebius is one of those stocks where you feel like you can have more alpha because things don't get priced in. And there's a big discrepancy of time between when the retail community finds something and when the news actually happens. So ClickHouse, a couple of days ago, so this is Jan 14th, unconfirmed, they raised the Series a Series D round. And as we know, Nebius owns a 20% stake in ClickHouse. And they just came out earlier today, confirmed by Bloomberg, $15 billion valuation. Keep in mind, back in June, when they raised their Series C, it was a $6 billion valuation. So roughly a 3x in terms of the valuation for ClickHouse. Nebius stake would be roughly $4 billion in ClickHouse. Of course, Nebius was up today about 5% roughly. But this is something that, I think it's pretty positive. I also, made a prediction even that I said, hey, in my predictions video for 2026, one of my predictions was literally that ClickHouse would have, a 10 or $15 billion like a raise essentially, and that came true, 2 weeks into the new year. So again, I think it just reinforces this idea that there's a lot of stuff that's not priced in with Nebius, and there's a lot of room for it to continue to run. And similarly, I I said this as well because we saw on January 12th. I know we haven't talked in a while, Roy, but we saw on January 12th that there was an open house for the Missouri approval. And there was an article that came out, and Nebius was up 10% on the back of that article. And so I made this little cheesy Gemini post, and I said, "Look, I'm not trading around this, but I think Nebius is going to hit $130 next week, so by next Friday." And the reason is because on January 20th we have this vote essentially for this Missouri data center approval. Now, on the other side of it is a client, and I think that once this is approved, or if this is approved, right, on Tuesday, over the next couple of days, so Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, Nebius is going to drop a press release saying or announcing Missouri officially and disclosing who the new client is. Because it's 800 megawatts, my thought is that it's going to be a hyperscaler. In my predictions video a couple of weeks ago, I said that Nebius is going to partner with Google and service it out of Missouri. I think it could also be a Meta expansion of that contract, or even Amazon. But either way, regardless, once the Missouri data center is approved, if it is approved, I think, will start to run by next Friday. And I just said, I'm deleting this if I'm wrong, but obviously not, because now, I made a video about it, and the internet never forgets. But again, it's so much. There's so much opportunity in Nebius because so much is yet unpriced into the stock.
Yeah, and it's in a basket of stocks. There's other data centers that are out there. Nate mentioned that part of the run was that basket lifting, and when high beta stocks are lifting, and then that basket is also lifting. Nebius is a extremely high beta stock, but it'll go both ways. So yeah, congrats on that call, man. And like somebody asked in the comments if I owned any. I did a swing trade with it. I was actually the first out of our group that actually invested in it, and I just decided I'd take my gains and I just put more in Nvidia. Now, obviously, it would have made a lot more just staying in Nebius, but I have so much beta in my portfolio that I felt it was right to instead focus on building out that, which I still want to add more Nvidia, but Nebius is definitely on my radar, and I want to keep learning more and keep it kind of top of mind. It's in a very small list of stocks where I'm like, hey, I don't have a position, but if money lines up with opportunity, I could see it.
So you're still not looking to start a position in Nebius, is what I'm hearing. What's holding you back at this point? Just a high beta?
No, I think it's mostly, and I made this mistake with Figure, so maybe I should just rethink the way that I do. But what held me back from initiating with Figure is I have all this fintech and all this crypto stuff, and it's a little different than all of those, but that's a huge part of my portfolio. Do I want to make more of my portfolio along those lines? And with AI, it's the same way between NVIDIA, between Palantir, and between Air Test Systems. I'm looking at 25% of my portfolio being basically right around the AI trade. And then there's others that are touched by the AI trade, but they're not really central to it. So how much do I actually want to increase that to? And then, I've been pouring a ton of money into VG, which VG is about where I want it to be. It's helped by price movement, and also Air Test Systems is exactly where it needs to be. So it's okay, so what do I do next? So it's hard to ignore NVIDIA still for me, just because NVIDIA, I never, in one of my portfolios, I got it to the perfect sizing in that portfolio. My main portfolio, it's not. It's underweight there, and I want to increase that. Once I get to that point, if I'm looking somewhere to put money in, if NVIDIA is trading at around this current valuation, I think it's really attractive. So I might do it at that point, but I just have to. You can only be in so many names and so many opportunities, but I think it's a good company. I do think it is assuming bull market and assuming AI trade is intact, which every indicator is just showing that time and time again. I think that it's probably going to outperform NVIDIA. I don't know.
I think that you've done this invest and investigate type of style before. You bought VG on a whim, literally on this podcast. I think it should be I think it should be very similar with Nebius, because once you start forcing yourself to look into the actual catalyst that they have upcoming, you will grow more bullish, because I could see the opportunity there from a market perspective. There's a lot. I mean, who was it? Morgan Stanley came out this week with $126 price target, and they're like one of the lowest on the street. And it's just there's a lot of stuff, and I know the demand is high. I know half of 26 ARR is already booked and all this, but I think that there's still demand or pockets of demand from their build out that is not accounted for officially in press releases. I mean, we are still getting updates on Indiana, and I think that one will also come through. And if it does, then you can have 3 data centers in the US. New Jersey is expanding as well. And I understand the exposure to the AI trade, but I don't know. I still think, like, I have exposure to NVIDIA, definitely not to the same amount that you do, but I think it'll serve you well, even if it's a small taster position, and you can actually read up on these things yourself.
Yeah, can you throw up Matthew Johnson's comment there? I do think that's valid. He says, Roy, you need to follow Tevis. He followed you on air. He has conviction on this stock. This, by the way, you know, if you're looking at that and you're like, oh, it's a dumb idea to follow someone, it's not if you're doing the invest and investigate. And so if I'm like, okay, I got money, I know Nebius enough where I'd be comfortable doing that anyway. But the thing is, if you guys ever do this, whether it's myself, Tevis, somebody else, make sure you do your due diligence along the way as well. Because otherwise, any price movement, you're like, I don't understand this. I'm losing money. I'm out. Or it goes up 15%. And you're like, all right, that's awesome. I'm out. And so many times you miss it just because you haven't done your own DD. So this isn't the worst idea. On your point, you know, the investigate. There are there's really 3 positions that could be reduced or even sold completely this earnings season. And so PayPal is on the block, and I did take some options off the table, thankfully, like a month or month and a half ago. Still lost a ton of money, but I would have lost more. You're counting PayPal mentions or something?
HIMS.
Yeah, HIMS is the other. And then BMNR. And I did reduce some BMNR. And when we talk BMNR, I'll tell you kind of what I'm thinking and how I'm reacting to everything there. But all I'm saying is, as far as those, is if there's reductions in any of those, all of a sudden I have more cash than I want to have weighted in my portfolio. And so then what I need to do right now, Tevis, is be thinking, because that's probably 2 weeks out before I decide anything, 2 to 3 weeks out because of the timing of some of the earnings, what I want to pivot that into. Because VG, mission accomplished, air test systems, unless it falls further, it's above 10%. And that's crazy for a little micro cap like that. But yeah, Nebius is one I really need to consider. Really, I think it comes between Nebius and NVIDIA. So
interesting.
Maybe a swing in some of these drone stocks that haven't run yet. There's some interesting ones out there. But
yeah, for me, I definitely want to cut BMNR and I want to cut HIMS. These are not things that are new or since the shareholder meeting. I've been talking about cutting BMNR and cutting HIMS for months now. And I think I want to double my meta position, because over here at 625, 630, I think it's still being disrespected by the market. I think they're going to have a great earnings. So meta is about 6 or 7% of my portfolio. I want to make that 14, I guess, 15. So we'll see how that goes. That's not something that I can just do overnight. So it'll be in small chunks here and there. But over the next month or so, hoping to cut BMNR around $40 a share. If it does hit that, maybe cut it in half. Hoping to cut HIMS around $40, $45 a share if it does hit that in the next month and a half. And then hoping to buy Meta.
Yeah, for all of these, I don't mind. I want more information. And the great thing about Q4 is most companies will guide for the entire year. So we'll have a good idea from PayPal, I think. If this is transition year 3.0, I'm going to reduce. It doesn't matter what the valuation is. I just need to. If HIMS comes out and the yellow flags become even more of a danger sign, and actually Nate himself had said that he's thinking about cutting. A lot of people are. I still think that there's a good opportunity there. My concerns are around execution.
Yeah.
So actually for both, to be honest. And yeah, BMNR, the amount that I sold was very minuscule. It was actually all my BMNU, which was, I just lumped into BMNR because it's, the same play. It was just leveraged. And I decided, hey, entering this event, I just don't want this. And I sold that on the Mr. Beast News. And I still own most of my BMNR. I guess let's talk first about our thoughts.
Yeah. I do want to dedicate a segment to BMNR, but just very, very quickly before I get into that, one of the lessons that I sort of learned over the past couple of months, and I'm so grateful. Like, one of the problems with me was like I held things for too long because I didn't want to book losses. But it really is a thesis thing. Who said it here? Yeah, this comment. Are we selling BMNR at a loss then? If so, I feel better about cutting the position. Let me please refer to you guys. Let me refer you guys to a stock that I tax loss harvested, Duolingo. Roy, did you know that Duolingo is trading for $150?
Yeah.
And I was back and forth on this one to cut it at I think I cut it at like 197 or something, right at the end of December. So it might have been lower, 187, something like this. And I tax loss harvested it, and I was like, oh man, like I booked a 30% loss on Duolingo, whatever it was, because I was collecting premiums on it as well through cash secured puts, and I reallocated that money into Nebius and into my Amazon spreads. And same with Next, right? Next is stuck at $5.30 as well. I cut both of those, and I bought the Amazon spreads and I bought the Nebius, and I was so uneasy because I was like, oh man, like I booked losses, like it doesn't feel good. And then I just checked on them today and I was like, holy crap, like I dodged a bullet.
What did Next down to then?
I cut Next around, I think 560, 550, and that's about, I think 530 maybe.
Yeah, should have done VG, man.
It's 530, and it fell as far down a couple of days ago to 4.7, which is crazy. But yeah, I guess I should have done VG. But the point is like if you no longer feel that confidence in a position, like just take the loss, because like cheap can always get way cheaper. At the same time, like this is an interesting comment. Buy a leap call if you can afford it. It's too cheap for the earnings. There are things that get oversold, but and leaps are a way to bet on something in an asymmetric way if you're okay losing all that capital if the leap doesn't play out. But yeah, all of that has been sort of in the back of my mind around making me overall a better investor, because being less fearful around cutting losers and booking losses, because your gains will further compensate for that.
Yeah, and I had my own. I've done multiple times where sometimes it's worked out, sometimes it's not, but usually it just makes sense to concentrate on your core convictions. So, like that's the thing with HIMS is I think that they're a good opportunity, but not as good as I was perceiving 6 months ago. And we've been clear where the thesis is weakened for us along the way. And so, if I have a higher conviction in, for instance, Nebius or Nvidia, it makes sense at some point just to take the L and rotate over there. So my biggest example, biggest success from this was selling ChargePoint back in 2022 when it had fallen from $20 a share to 10. And I mean, if you look at it today, it's like way down from there too. And I decided to buy more Palantir. That worked out really well. So oftentimes you think you have to get back to your cost basis. If the thesis is not there, or you're like, man, there's a great opportunity here, and I don't see it with this one, it's, it can make sense to take the L. BMNR, that's not what I plan to do. I really need I need 2 more Mondays of data. I think 2 more Mondays of data will tell me exactly what I need to know as far as how BMNR is doing as far as an opportunity. I'll talk about that in just a second. But first, let's start, I guess, with Mr. Beast and BMNR. Tevis, what did you think of that announcement that happened? It feels like it was a while ago, but just yesterday, with BMNR announcing that they were going to put $200 million in Beast Industries, of course, owned by Mr. Beast, YouTuber, that there would be some sort of DeFi or finance play related there, and that this was a moonshot project.
I don't hate the Mr. Beast partnership. I don't hate it. I think over the long tail, it'll pay dividends for them because I'm super bullish on that guy's trajectory. I think he's going to compound impressions like nobody's business, and he's going to become one of the biggest media companies in the world. I mean, he already is, but maybe even the biggest. Definitely the biggest, like indie, media company. I think there's so much optionality around how you can further monetize all of those impressions. It's not something that's going to play out in the short term, but I think in the medium to long term, I'm bullish on it. Between Mr. Beast, however, and the app, I do feel as though they're sort of diversifying away from what their mission statement is, which is worrisome. Because I'm like, dude, we don't need an app right now. Like, why are you spending investors, money or diluting investors to build an app? Like, that's not, we're losing the plot a little bit. So that's a worry of mine. But my problem was never with the Mr. Beast partnership. I actually made a video. I was bullish on the Mr. Beast partnership, and I think it's fine. It's a moonshot. $200 million is really nothing in the grand scheme of things. If you do it over a multi-year trajectory, I think that will pay itself off and then some. I think everything else is what I'm having issues with.
Yeah, the app, it doesn't make that much sense to me. The Mr. Beast thing. So where I'm at is we don't really know what that looks like, but we do know Mr. Beast, Beast Industries really applied for a banking charter. So it's not the national banking charter, the same license as SoFi has. It'd be harder to get, but instead it's the same one that PayPal and many others have applied for this last year. And so it's clear between that and, of course, comments that were around the press release that they are interested in pivoting in this way. So as far as like ROI and potential gains, I like this a whole lot better than Orbs. I've never liked that project. It's the other moonshot type of project. So I don't really hate that idea, especially because I would be horrified if I found out, oh, we're just investing and we don't know what their plan is in this, but we want in. But I'm assuming that they know what this is looking like, what they're launching, when they're launching it, and how that overlaps with the Ethereum network and also BMNR. And given that assumption, I mean, like Mr. Beast and frankly, that brand presence is amazing at marketing. They're amazing at distribution. It's not necessarily something like BMNR or Ethereum needs, but whatever they launch, it's probably going to be very successful. Just like the Feastables, the chocolate, that you'd be like, oh, Mr. Beast and chocolate, what in the world's going on? I mean, I've tasted it, and it's like, maybe you guys will hate me for saying this, it's not that amazing. The reason why that gets a sells, do you love it?
I've never tried
it. It's like, yeah,
I do have some Kit Kat.
But I mean, like, honestly, people are buying it because name recognition. They understand. Mr. Beast like puts it in people's faces every single time. So this is probably one of those projects that will end up being accretive to BMNR. My problem is more the timing and the optics. So you have this big ask from shareholders of 50 billion shares. And the moment, and I mean the moment that that's closed off and you can no longer vote or change your vote, then they're like, okay, great. We needed that 50 billion. So we hit our goals for Ethereum. By the way, Mr. Beast, here's $200 million. I'm like, what? Now, fair enough. They didn't say, hey, we're going to start focusing on moonshots after we reach the 5% goal for Ethereum. But that should be the focus. That should be the play. This seems like it's a distraction. It does seem like a little bit of a bait and switch to me where, I mean, it just like the timing of it just not right. Now, if they were like at 4.85 and they're like, hey, we're going to do this, it's going to be a good pivot for us. Whatever, that's fine. So, and I want to talk about the annual meeting too. So you covered this live. It's a little bit of a clown show. So what did you think?
My thoughts exactly, Roy. It was a little bit of a clown show, and it's just, I think, okay. So first of all, yes, they got the yes vote.
Yeah.
We don't know that officially from the company. or from any corporate filings. But the way we know that is because a random retail investor called Wolf of Dubai, who attended the Vegas event, said they got the yes vote, and the official BMNR account retweeted him. That's as close to confirmation as we have on a vote that they spent months, asking retail investors to vote on. Okay, that's not even the worst part of the meeting, guys. Like, it was pretty brutal. They didn't really announce anything significant or anything, quite frankly. Uh, like I said, here, hold on. I want to bring up a comment here because I responded to somebody a couple of days ago around the BMNR thing. So hold on, let me share my screen. And I said, maybe I'm in the wrong here, but let me know if you guys think I am. I said, if you're not going to issue any material forward-looking statements of your 2026 year strategic guidance on your annual shareholder day, then when? Like, this was the opportunity for you to talk about what you're doing in your roadmap. Now, John, who's bullish and vocal on BMNR, and he's one of the members in the community, said, I'm not sure I understand your problem or question. He gave full guidance for what is an Ethereum treasury based on Ethereum pricing. This isn't Amazon or Berkshire. And I wanted to sort of encapsulate, my thoughts. I said, he did provide that, sure, but we've seen that before. It was not new, nor was it adjusted. The slides around how BMNR price shifts with Ethereum price. There was no update on Maven and what the plan is there for 2026. He did not provide any clear answer on what's coming after the 5% target. He kind of hinted at 10%, but he didn't really give anything concrete. He did not provide any plan around whether they plan on increasing dividends or whether they plan on holding the rewarded ETH. They didn't even clear up how the votes went, at least not on the stream portion of the meeting. Now, he said all of this stuff was, I can't issue that because we need a formal SEC filing to be able to release that stuff. But he did announce an app, so I guess he doesn't need a filing for that. And he announced this Mr. Beast collaboration, which the filing came in the morning. I said, I'd say about 90% of the slides and the talking points were recycled from previous conversations.
And that's true.
Anyways, that was, I guess, a misalignment of expectations that we had relative to what they presented. And maybe we're in the wrong for getting our hopes up for something like this, but I think that they were also quite pumping this event to get the yes vote. They were getting people excited. There was talk about Sam Altman and Vitalik being speakers, and we didn't get either of those. There was some, behind the scenes sort of excitement around what are they going to do next and how might this affect the strategy going forward. And there's none of that talked about. So that was my main issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Their communication has been, it seems like it's getting worse, actually, which is not great. They've not been bad, and I'd like the Monday updates, the regular videos from Tom Lee and everything. Didn't care for the spam on get out and vote, and I don't think that they needed an event here at all. I said the same, by the way, with the Robinhood AI day, where I don't think you need to make this an event, guys, but they did. I feel like BMNR is trying to capture basically what Robinhood did from an event like this, but when you don't have very many employees anyway, and you don't have the competency to do that, then just stick with press releases. That's fine. I wouldn't do this again. It's a waste of funds. It's a waste of time. It makes you look like a joke. So what isn't a joke is I still think that the thesis is very intact with Ethereum. People are like, well, why not just buy Ethereum? I have a bunch of Ethereum too. So it's not like I'm all full port BMNR, BMNU. I can sell options on BMNR, which I really like. Mm-hmm. What's really going to be what I watch, I'm not trimming anything else other than that BMNU that I wanted out of, is how basically the perception of retail changes around the stock. I see a lot of people that are like, yeah, Beast Network, that's awesome. BMNR, that's awesome. I'm buying more. I've seen more people express kind of what you expressed, where it's like, there's some issues here. There's some yellow flags, and they're getting out, which, do what's right for you. So a big part of the thesis here for BMNR, we've talked about this before, and if we look at percent, is that they really enjoy having significant trading volume, which translates to liquidity. Now, since they're selling shares that are over MNAV to buy underlying, they benefit from this. This is also one of the reasons why some of the other DATs have struggled. So, in the 80s, I think is fine. And we have seen times when it gets a little bit lower or it gets a little bit higher. But if we see this beginning to go down meaningfully, next Monday is too early, but it's really the Monday after that. If we see 60%, 55, that is catastrophic. It doesn't kill BMNR, but it does definitely hurt them and hinder them from their effective goal of reaching that 5%. I'm also very curious, if they got this ask, what is this buying going to be looking like, and how are they able to maintain that valuation above their MNAV? So I don't know. I'm willing to, basically give it 2 more Mondays. I don't think that there's any scenario out there where I would cut all of my BMNR, but there might be a point where I'm like, maybe it makes sense to hold a little more Ethereum here, or, I want to get into Nebius or buy more NVIDIA. So I would say the likelihood is that I think the liquidity will still be there, just as strong, mid to high 80s. And so if so, thesis still very much intact for me, even though this was not a good look this week. It just frankly was not.
Yeah, if you're asking the question of why would you invest in BMNR over Ethereum, the answer that we've given historically has been, among different reasons. One of the reasons is management and Tom Lee's ability to essentially steward the capital in a more efficient manner. And I think that is the thing that's deteriorating for me. So I understand that it's a digital asset treasury company, that, I'm the idiot for having expectations of them announcing something, because that's not the business model. They just need to hold the Ethereum and chill. I get all that. I think the reason, so that doesn't make me the event itself, which by all accounts was a shit show, doesn't make me want to sell BMNR outright. But I definitely want to cut my position by a pretty big amount, probably by half, or maybe 2/3, simply because I think that discrepancy between just buying ETH versus buying BMNR has faded, let's say, as a result of my reduced confidence in Tom Lee. I also think that they're going to start buying Ethereum on the open market, and I think that's going to be driving Ethereum up. So I think it's going to be fine. Of course, we have to see, now that they have the approval for further dilution, what they do with it. But like I said, I even said this on the stream, on, when was it, yesterday, that I'm still holding, and we'll see what happens. It doesn't make me want to buy more by any accounts. I even had cash secured puts that were in the money, but my break even, I was profitable on them. And I was just like, you know what, this would lower my cost basis, but I don't want to put more money in BMNR. So I just closed them out instead. And yeah, I think, again, and I've talked about this multiple times before, guys. You guys always get mad at me whenever I sell something. But at the end of the day, the position sizing that I have in my portfolio is reflective of that level of risk that I want to take on with that company. Nebius is at 20%, BMNR is at 10%. BMNR right now feels closer to, maybe a 5% position or a 3% position, definitely not a 10% position, And so I think that's the adjustment that I need to make.
Can you put Gigajed's comment up? I think it's a good comment, and I want to respond to it. Y'all emotional. Imagine holding Rocket Lab. Heard the same talking points in Rocket Lab. It's 4. I mean, we did with SoFi. I did with Robinhood and Palantir. Tevis, you've done this with many names too, where this for us, like what we're talking about for BMNR, is not about the price action. This would be like Rocket Lab when they're talking about their Neutron engine and everything. And then they're and by the way, we're getting a $200 million stake in Sesame Street, like the kids show. And it'd be like, what? Why? Oh, well, we're going to talk rockets and science and do some different things. And it's good for market exposure. It's like, yeah, but why? Concentrate on your core mission. For Rocket Lab, a lot harder mission than just buying 5% of the Ethereum thing. And I do see a couple of people, by the way, saying like, oh, it didn't make sense to buy BMNR over their MNAV. That was a thesis. It still is a thesis that they can sell an overvalued stock for undervalued Ethereum, which increases Ethereum per share. It's inverse logic on normal stocks, but that's what was compelling for BMNR versus other plays that are undervalued by their MNAV, like ETHZilla. But yeah, the execution needs to be there. Should be a lot easier than Rockets, but it's not been as pretty as I would have liked. So yeah, we'll have to see what plays out. I should know by 2 Mondays. If anything changes in BMR, by the way, and I'm starting to get out, I'll let you guys know. I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to tell, and I'm going to just make more, but yeah, more likely than I'll continue on that. Where do you want to go? Oh, actually, I wanted to show you this, Tevis. Do you follow the Validator network much?
Not much.
Validator Q. Okay, so this
It's
is
at zero still, right? Or no?
Well, look at this right here.
Okay.
This is the queue for entry is blue and exit is red. What event, Tevis, changed on late December, that changed the trajectory so there was a lot of entry all at once?
Yeah, I know. I've talked about this multiple weeks on BMNR. It's BMNR starting to stake, basically.
Yes, and Q wait time as well. Active validators are down. Credentials are continuing to climb. Yeah, supply stake, you're going to see this spiked a lot too once you have everything staked there. So it's between that and then we've looked before at the supply that's available on all networks out there. I throw that up every other week or so, and that continues to be diminished greatly. BMNR is a leading force in that too. So yeah, exactly. Yes, that's what we wanted to hear more about, and they're like, oh yeah, Maven, it exists.
Well, so here's why, guys. Because what I'm looking for, and Roy, let me know if this is the same for you, but what I'm looking for that drives my interest in hearing about Maven is I'm looking for more differentiators of why somebody would buy a BMNR versus Ethereum or a Ethereum ETF. In other words, I'm looking for other potential streams of income. So like one thing that Tom Lee said that was brilliant was they own so much ETH that they're a liquidity provider now. Like they can essentially provide liquidity, backstop other people, whatever. And like I'm sure that will materialize in revenue. We know management per the shareholder vote is incentivized with revenue metrics. Staking is one form of revenue, okay? Moonshots could be another form of revenue down the line, but it's a further differentiator of why would I buy a BMNR relative to me buying an Ethereum ETF. Well, if I'm super bullish Mr. Beast and I'm a retail investor, this is the closest proxy I have to invest in Mr. Beast's trajectory that exists on public markets right now, right? So just as an example, right? If they talk about Maven and the ability to white label Maven and use it and generate more rewards as a result of them having their own validator network, well, all of a sudden, I can then start to plot out another form of revenue that will serve as a further differentiation for BMNR relative to others.
Yeah. And I don't hate that. I did see some people saying like they're going after it like a tech multiple or something, or to try to break free from just the MNAV valuation type of arguments. That's fine, but concentrate on the core mission. It's simple. The thesis is clean. Don't get distracted. And I've seen this with a lot of companies where they try to do too much too soon. And if they don't have the execution there, it's a disaster. I wouldn't say this is a disaster. I would say that event was pretty poor. This week, frankly, was as a BMNR shareholder. And it's not because of stock price action. Anyway, we'll see how it plays out, at least for me over the next few Mondays. Tevis, I'm sure that you'll let people track every move that you have in your $1 billion portfolio. As always, just kidding. But I know that you tend to share pretty openly when things change and when you get out, and I appreciate that about you.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you want to cover next?
Well, let's first of all answer this question because multiple people are asking. So FinTech Friday is dead officially. It does no longer exist. So all of my hard work in making thumbnails is out the window now. We do have a new show. And the new show features myself, Ron, and Esteban, and we are starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. And it's going to be like FinTech Friday, but without the FinTech portion. It's actually going to be closer to Bootleg Weekly in terms of the stuff that we talk about. And
yeah, tonight we're talking about like the two main topics are going to be on the TSM and TSMC, the AI trade specifically and the ramifications for that on different names within the space. We're also going to talk some about Clarity Act, what's happening in crypto, maybe a little bit about the 10% cap too that Trump talked about. There will be a little bit of overlap with the show. I'm sure Steve will want to talk some BMNR, but mostly we're trying to talk all different topics. That would be great. I don't have a thumbnail yet for the show, and we're still trying to figure out a name. Yeah, basically, Tanner and I, we love fintech, but with just one guy that bores Steve to tears, and Tevis is only willing to hear about PayPal so many times in a month, and then he loses it. So,
yeah. We need a name, guys. So please, you can give us suggestions. And Jim, it's not that Tanner has copyrights to FinTech Friday. It's just we don't want to talk about FinTech exclusively.
Yeah. It's a grab bag type of thing, and so we'll have Bootleg on Tuesday and FinTech or this on Friday, whatever the show's called. So Talk Unfiltered or what have you. These are great.
Bro, they were calling him Slow Tanner and Fat Tanner the entire stream. I was just like, oh my god, I was dying. Yeah. If there's one YouTuber that we know BMNR is not going to invest in, it's this guy. I cannot keep a straight face while talking about these events. Tanner is so professional, and Roy too. Me, I'm just gonna. This is why. Anyways, this is why I don't get invited to New York City or wherever you guys go. Vegas, San Francisco.
Yeah. Let's talk just a little bit Meta. I know that you were looking at Meta. I won't invest in Meta.
Fridays.
It's not bad, actually.
I'm gonna add it to the list. Steve's not gonna like it. He's like, it needs to have the word stock market in it. Otherwise, we won't get new audience. And I'm like, okay. It's me, Roy, and Steve. Kevin. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Roy.
Ron, Travis, and Sven. All right, so Meta. This has been kind of interesting. So a couple of things have happened. One is Zuck has continued to talk relentlessly about CapEx spend and also the metaverse. Things that we saw, back a few years ago in 2023 when Meta did a nosedive, was trading under $100 a share. Of course, Brad Gerstner wrote that shareholder letter to Zuck. They paused some of the CapEx spending. So the stock is going one direction, and yet we're seeing things like this. Monthly active users for Meta. If we look at the Magnificent Seven, is that frozen? That's frozen. Well, let's see. Mag 7. I might have to redo the screener then. For some reason, my Mag 7 screener is not working. Anyway, if you look at the valuation of Meta, by most measures, not PEG, but price to earnings, forward price to earnings, you look at their valuation based on free cash flow, they're really cheap. They're one of the cheapest Mag 7 stocks right now. And they're growing still massively. They are the only main issue that I've seen is I think maybe some of their investment in the AI technology, especially what they've been doing in Llama, and of course the acquisition of a lot of those AI and data scientists, that might not be delivering the ROI, especially on the front end that they expected, and also that massive CapEx expenditure. When does Meta actually become a compelling investment for you, Tevis?
I own it, and I'm buying more Meta, so it's already a compelling investment for me, sir.
What do you think the market is wanting here?
Well, it's actually interesting, right? Because they released the Meta Compute earlier this week. I don't know that we covered that. And he was basically saying hundreds, if not thousands of gigawatts. And they have very big ambitions for their investment in AI. And I think the market right now is just looking for how this is going to materialize on the actual income statement, especially after their bid for what was it, that Singapore AI company? I'm name slipping right now, but essentially the Singapore AI company, which I'm sure somebody in the chat will let me know. Oh my gosh, what is it? Manus AI.
That's right. I couldn't help you. Sorry.
They're a leader essentially in the real world AI, the agentic use cases, and one of the core use cases for Meta would be WhatsApp and monetizing that, the WhatsApp for Business. So I think a lot of this investment into AI, I think the market would be looking for, first of all, how is it going to actually materialize into an expansion of their financials? Because right now, all we're seeing is a big, receipt, a big bill, and that's not great for the market. You've seen them sell off on metaverse investments, and you've seen them bounce back when they're cutting metaverse investments. So the market doesn't like spending without any promise of getting that money back. They actually cut 1,500 metaverse jobs this week. I don't know if you saw that, Roy.
Yeah, I did see. I didn't catch the number, but I did see that they made some trim, and that didn't seem like it shifted anything there. Do you think that Zuck is going to pivot at some point and just say, "Hey, let's slow our roll on, especially the capex that they're spending related to AI"?
No.
Yeah,
No.
I think you're right. Curious why you think that, and I'll share.
Because I think Zuck knows that there's a higher possibility for multiple expansion and serious ROI in AI versus in the metaverse. I think there's way more real world applications, and it's actually worth investing in a bigger way versus the metaverse was kind of like a pipe dream that's ahead of its time.
Yeah, for sure. And then he talked about it a different way too. I mean, they did the whole name pivot and everything, but he's talked about the ramifications of missing out on this AI race and not being a part of it. That's Apple's strategy, but I don't think that that's going to necessarily work out. Now, this is the other thing too is this is a forward valuation from Meta right here, and you can see related. This is just 1 year forward, 2 years forward. It's the same sort of story. We're looking at a 21 price to earnings forward. Versus other peers that are in the space. Nvidia is just way too low. I don't know. Whatever. I guess it's competition. But regardless, if we just look back at Meta, though, we can see like relative to that Meta moment back in 2023, this is really nothing. So let me pull up. Yeah, I've got it right here. So this is how low they got at one point in 2023 at the very beginning. Under a 9 price to earnings forward. And here we are at 21. Now they are growing revenue faster. I don't think they're ever going to get back to a 9. But this right here was like doomsday for Meta. The letter from Brad Gerstner was very terse. And I think the way that Zuck looks at the metaverse is very different than the way he looks at AI. So I think this would have to actually compress significantly more before we get to that point, and before shareholders are just like saying, hey, something's got to change here, or you got to go, or we're going to go. So yeah, I'm not an investor. I'm not going to invest in that space, but and I'd forgotten that you'd bought some, but yeah, I was curious about that. You own Meta and you don't own Nvidia. What? You're muted.
I have in the money cash secured puts on Nvidia for March for 200, right? So if those hit, if it's under 200 by March, I'm going to have 200 shares of Nvidia. So nice. We'll see. If they don't get hit, then I just keep $4,000, and I might end up buying Nvidia anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great company, but yeah, can't own everything unless you want to be like just your own mini ETF, but that's not usually the best way to invest. All right.
Okay, hold on. I want to read some of these names, dude. Sure. Bulls After Dark, Unhinged and Unhedged. Kind of like that.
That one's good.
Weekly Nightcap, Milk Money. That's funny. Yeah. We'll see. We'll bring it to Steve, and I'm sure he'll have ideas as well. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep the ideas coming, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, these are great. We were thinking either like right now we were thinking like unfiltered finance or markets unfiltered. So I like unhinged and unhedged or other way around. But yeah, something that's kind of creative.
Did you see this piece of Tesla news, by the
This
way?
trades are so unnecessary. Yeah, because everything. So this is funny because like I'm doing the wheel, but I don't think I've written a cash secured put that's like below where a stock has been trading for like 4 months now. All of my cash secured puts are like several dollars in the money. Like I have everything, dude. I have Nebius 110s, Nebius 115s, I have BMNR 40s, I have SoFi 30, SoFi 32, NVIDIA 200s. Like everything is in the money. So I don't know, man. But when we win big with the $25 we just kept for Nebius, and yeah, F Tanner Friday is perfect.
The best one I saw related to Tanner was the On Time podcast because Tanner's always late.
Yeah,
So,
I'll put that on the list.
did you see this piece of news? This was, it did not go under radar because, Elon Musk and 60 million views, but Tesla will stop selling full self driving after February 14th. Full self driving will only be available as a monthly subscription thereafter.
Wow.
I don't own full self driving. I've thought about it in the past, and at least from my perspective, when they're doing it at $99 a month for a subscription, it takes a long time to pay off. Now, if you want to own it, I'm actually a little bit surprised that they took the option away entirely versus just a pure subscription service. Curious on the timing of that too. I don't know if that's just to maybe drive another demand lever where they're like, okay, some people that were thinking about buying it, they're going to finally pull the trigger. This is their last chance. But I also think that this is classic Elon, where we're never going to do it again, and then 3 months later, they're like, "Oh, by the way, it's back." What do you think? Why do you think that is a motivator here, Tevis? And you own a good chunk of Tesla. We don't talk about it all the time. Does this shift anything for you, or is it just a nothing burger?
No, I think it's actually positive, right? Because I think this was always going to be the plan if and when Tesla does roll out robo taxis, then full self-driving is going to be so much more lucrative and quite frankly for customers more accessible as a subscription as opposed to them paying 10 grand or 12 grand or whatever it's up to right now. It's going to suck because I would have much rather paid the 12 grand over the long run. Like if I had a Tesla right now and I couldn't afford it, I would probably take out like a small line of credit or something and pay it off over time because you know that they're going to get a bigger premium off of that subscription. And subscriptions are recurring revenue, they're predictable revenue. And I think that it's going to lead to the market actually giving Tesla more dynamic tech, multiple. I mean, they already have one, but it's a more reliable stream of revenue as opposed to the full self-driving.
Yeah, I think Tesla has some issues, but their multiple is not one of them. I mean, like it's expensive. I can't buy more at this, but it has fallen some. So, it's one of those. That's not bad.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really.
Let me point you to another Elon Musk post. I don't know if you saw this one or not, Roy, but this was some a little bit of breaking news, maybe. Kind of a big deal. Elon Musk just an hour and a half ago, actually, posted, should I buy Ryanair and put somebody whose actual name is Ryan in charge? So, should I buy Coke and put the Coke back in it? It's round 2 of that. But hey, man, last time he did this, he actually went ahead and bought Twitter. Somebody on Twitter told him, like, hey, you should just buy it. And he's like, is it for sale? How much is it? Do you remember this? And he just like,
no, I forgot about that. I do remember it now. Yeah. It's been a while.
So this was interesting, right? Because like it's either a joke or he's planning something with Starlink. But that might be funny.
That would be really funny.
That guy cannot stay still for any given point in time. He needs some fire. Yeah,
That's
Ryan
funny.
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds, yes. Mint Mobile actor and the CEO of
He's
Ryan.
like a full-on billionaire, bro.
Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't realize that.
Because he has Mint, and then he has a couple of other things as well. Like I think he has a tequila brand as well. People in the comments will keep me honest, but like, yeah, he's like a full-on, like, he's rich.
Good for him.
Yeah, Elon is the epitome of FU money.
Yeah, you call him out, it's like, fine, I'll just buy you.
He has Aviator Gin and half a soccer team apparently. Is that Spurs that he has? Is that the soccer team? I'm not sure. I know just enough for like dinner conversation, but I don't know Brian Reynolds' life.
Yeah. Well, there's a few other things that we had talked about covering. Nothing massive. What do you think about pivoting over, since we're at past an hour, into Q&A, giving it a little more?
You want to do Q&A now?
Was there anything you wanted to cover before Q&A that we haven't yet?
We talked about Nebius. We talked about BMNR.
Yeah, the security stocks in China was one. Software stocks and just valuation, what's happening in that space. A little bit Adobe. Those were the other things that we said we might discuss.
Ooh, I know what I wanted to talk about. Apple signed a multi-year partnership with Google to use Gemini on their phones. Is OpenAI absolutely toast, Roy? It's got to be a big blow.
I mean, like, that's not great for them, but like the biggest thing is, I don't know if it's because of the guardrails that they put in. There was a lot of pushback on the way that OpenAI would handle a lot of the AI. You're familiar with the term AI psychosis?
No.
AI psychosis was something that was really talked about 3 or 4 months ago. And there are people that, I'm friends with on X. I don't know them in real life, that kind of went down this rabbit hole. And I was like, man, I don't know what to do. But basically, the way that OpenAI was structured, and it still has some of this, but not as extreme, is to validate everything. So if it's like, hey, I think that there's a secret harmonic to the universe and a frequency. Oh, you're going down the right track, and you go down this rabbit hole, and it affirms you, and you think you found something really great, and you're an amazing guy. But the reality is, you're basically hypnotizing yourself. It's AI psychosis. Between that and also what was happening in mental health space, where people were reaching out, which, go to a skilled professional for this, but reaching out to AI for mental health stuff. And I experimented with that, because I was like, okay, I'm hearing these things, but let me try it. And OpenAI was by far the worst. And basically, it stopped short of, I pretended this is not an issue with me, but I pretended that I was suicidal, because I'm like, how is it going to approach a person like this? And thankfully, it didn't like affirm me and like, hey, it's a great thing that you want in your life, and here's how you get a gun and actually do it. But with other mental health stuff that I posed towards it definitely took you down like a really crazy rabbit hole. They've ended some of that, and my thought is, maybe that's why OpenAI is a lot worse. Like most things that actually measure, whether it's the LMSIS, Arena score, the ELO score, or other measures as well, it's lagging behind Gemini and also Grok on most measures, which is, Grok is not great. So you don't want to lag behind that.
Yeah.
Claude has its own little niche, through Anthropic. But yeah, Gemini, I would say, is best in class for LLMs as far as my usage on a regular basis. And my thought to this is, if this trend continues, there's people like myself that are currently paying for ChatGPT, and we have our stuff there, we have our data, it's useful, that might think about, because I know I'm thinking about this as well, switching over and just paying Gemini, because it is the better product. And I'm using it just as much, if not more, as ChatGPT right now. I think we might see a wave of that.
I think Gemini is the best one so far. Gemini affirms the crap out of me too. It's like, oh, absolutely. And it's just like, it asked, questions about me. Dude, I hate that it does this. I
do too. You can,
I adjusted it, and it was just like, okay, let's personalize it. What's your role? And I gave it I think a resume one time, and I was just like, oh, you're a head of product at this company. And then I would ask it something completely, unrelated, and there would be like, great question. That's a very head of product question to ask. And I was like, dude, I will uninstall you right now. Like,
Yeah.
just facts.
The nice thing is, like, you can through prompt engineering, and it seems to stick until they like switch, to the next version of like, don't butter me up. Like, I don't want you to do that, and then it will abide by that at least for a while. So,
Yeah, there's also this news that
yeah,
they announced ads. I think there's a Poly Market that was saying there's around 40% chance or so that they do it in the next month. But
yeah, no, that'll be
going
interesting.
zero.
There's limited ads on most of these products, and I think people are being very careful around it, because if you're the first one that launches ads and people don't like them and they're kind of in your space and in your way, that's going to make it even easier to switch over to the competitors that are not offering that. So, yeah, we'll have to see. But I mean, it's not the best thing for if OpenAI fails. I don't think OpenAI will openly fail, but you'd prefer to see this be a duopoly. I don't want to see Google and just dominate, 90% of LLM queries like they did with search. I don't think that's very healthy for consumers. So hopefully they get it figured out, or Musk, not Musk, well, I guess Musk with Grok, or Anthropic guys continue to perform well there.
Yeah. I like Igor's take here. If OpenAI were to lose its market lead, it would likely trigger a massive tech valuation reset, forcing the industry to pivot from AGI hype. I don't think it's going to be that drastic, but I also dislike the fact that everybody entangled themselves so deeply with OpenAI that I do agree that it would trigger, somewhat of a valuation reset, because I mean, NVIDIA invested in them and a whole bunch of other companies as well in this like circular, investing thing that we've covered in the past. And again, I mean, it's only as good as the weakest link. And right now, the OpenAI link is getting weaker and weaker.
And Google, related, it was either late last week or very early this week, they announced UCP, which is kind of like Model Context Protocol. It's the same idea. There's a lot of these different protocols for communicating agent to agent. This is one that seems like it's more designed for the commerce push and the agentic not agentic advertising, agentic commerce. PayPal is well positioned there. It's one of a few things that they've actually done well on, but it's so far away. But yeah, ads maybe are getting here a little bit sooner than we thought. Shopping, it seems like it's going to be a this year thing, but I don't know that it'll be meaningful volume yet. But they definitely do need to start growing their revenue so that they could continue to expand, grow, and invest in themselves. Two really good comments that were there back to back was Edmund's Archery Hawaii at 7:07. Midway through your therapy session with chat, you're going to get a drug push. I mean, like, they have to really figure out what to do with ads and do it right and do it well. And then the next comment right after that, Matthew Johnson, did they figure out the ads and AI before Google? I highly doubt it. I mean, that's a pretty fair take. I would be a little surprised if they do. Now, the one thing with Google is Google does not want to disrupt themselves. And that was probably one of the reasons why, frankly, they had a substandard product initially. But it's also why they're being very careful. And there's a lot of people that are in that space that are sounding the alarm with what Google's been doing anyway, as far as the advertising. It's not deteriorating nearly as fast as I'd expected. And Google's done a lot of things well, which is why it keeps going up. But yeah, I think there's a little bit more to that story, but that is still a fair take.
All right. Shall we do questions? We have 28 questions bookmarked. Guys, we cap it at 30 questions, 35 questions, and then we do not do any more because we're going to be here for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Let's get started. Why no official vote announcement on BMNR, Roy?
I don't know. There's no really good reason. Honestly, they should have announced it right then. And most shareholder, like, look at Tesla. Now, they're a much bigger company. They have a lot more people. They're better organized. I think it's just lack of organization and lack of number of people, which you don't need a lot to run a company like BMNR. But still, there's no good excuse at all.
I agree. How's the PhD going, Roy?
Good. I actually paid. I had a post this week where I had two milestones, Tevis. One was 1 million views on YouTube, which I'm like, that's just crazy. And thank you guys, by the way. And the second was I ended up paying for my classes, I think for the last time, as long as everything goes well. Now, I still have a lot more editing to do tomorrow. On Monday, I'll end up submitting my, it's already done, but there's a lot more polishing of the dissertation. Goes to the second reader. If they're pleased with it, and I'm sure there'll be areas where they're like, hey, this is weak, this sucks, this is terrible. I'll have to resolve those things over the next few months, and then we'll schedule the defense. And then I'll have to zealously defend. Now, I do pack, so, I'm just kidding. No, it's not that kind of defense. But yeah, I'd say very well, hoping to be done April or May this year. And that would be a wonderful thing. That's the best part of this is not the degree, not the PhD, not anything related to that, just being done at this point.
So, to the 700 of you degenerates watching, soon it's going to be Dr. Roy for all of you. All right? It's not Roy anymore. It's Dr. Roy. Okay? Roy, let me $50 from. I love how we just get questions immediately when I'm like, we're closing questions, guys. I'm already at 30. New show, just questions. Did the incentive yes, this passed. That's a free one. You can have it for free.
Can you throw up Matthew Johnson 425 at 712? Roy, did you use AI to help write your thesis for your PhD? No, but I did use it. Well, I use it to help me with my actual dissertation. And like real quick on this because it's Q&A. Basically, I'm terrible with titles. So absolutely worse at titles. And there are sections and subsections, and there's a whole format with that I need to abide by. And so oftentimes I'll use it for, I'll have a section completely done. And I'll say, okay, AI, this is a section. This is the next section here. Give me 10 working titles. It'll usually give me one that's really good or close. I will use that. There are times when I'm editing my own work and I'm like, oh, that's such an awkward sentence. And I'm trying to figure out how to reword that and make it actually flow. And like, man, I just keep banging my head against the wall. Okay, OpenAI helped me paraphrase my own writing. Does a great job with that. It also does a really good job with conclusions and introductions and I'll use like whenever you do academic writing, typically you want to write the introduction actually last and the conclusion second to last. And so what I'll do is I'll have like 30 pages of whatever argumentation, and I'll say, okay, here's that. Here's the conclusion that I wrote. Is there anything major or significant that I raise as an argument that I'm lacking? And it'll poke holes and say, well, you missed this and this and this. You can also consider this and maybe this. Great. Same thing for introduction. And so it helps me almost like an assistant as a second pair of eyes. And the last piece is like, there's sometimes grammar and formatting things where I'm like, I don't have perfectly. And then a lot of the sources that I have are in languages that I don't know. I know, decently enough a few languages, and it's not perfect and it's not, going to translate it but I'll get the general flavor of whatever this document is and I'll be able to determine like, is that something that I actually need for my thesis or is it just a nothing burger? So yeah, it helped. It did not write.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions around your PhD, but I'm not going to bring them up. I do want to bring up this comment from Naveen. Naveen says, hi, Tevis. I was going through your comment about the BMNR app. Making an app is very, very cheap, and it should take less than $10K to create one. Naveen, you, my friend, are sorely mistaken because if you are, in fact, the government of Canada, you spent approximately $60 million to make an app, slightly above your budget of $80,000. So it doesn't always take 10K, and it's not guaranteed to be a 10K app when they can basically dilute at will as much as they want, whenever they want. So just saying. Okay, let's and no more questions because I guess that's a question, but no more questions because we already have 30 bookmarked and we literally cannot get through them fast enough because for every question we get through, you guys ask me like 5 more, and they're all good questions and I want to answer them all, and we would just be here for like 3 hours. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Tevis, what's your average on Nebius minus 78? I think I'm around that point as well. I started buying in the 50s and I kept buying even above $100. So I think my average is like 83, maybe 84. Yeah, around that range, in the $80 range. Have y'all talked about Hood multiple times? Frequently, actually.
Not today though, but
Not
yeah,
today.
they've run up a whole lot, but I think that they're a really good opportunity. Like the biggest thing is them being able to shift away from Kalshi over because of that Susquehanna deal that they have and the acquisition that they're doing. That immediately doubles their prediction market revenue. A lot of indicators that they're doing just incredibly well there, and regulation seems like it's going favorably. International is very interesting this way too. So yeah, I still think it's an opportunity. It's my largest holding, and I just hold.
No, more questions. That's a little punctuation joke. Seems like things are running really fast this year. Any concerns?
Not really. I was actually looking at a. Let me see if I can find this chart. I think I sent it to you, which was basically looking at the expansion, multiple expansion for the U.S. and other markets as well. I don't know. I'm sure if I can find it, but it doesn't feel bubbly. It doesn't feel frothy. The names that are running, there are some that are pre-revenue, and there's some smaller caps that are running. That seems to be the early theme anyway. Drones have done very well as a sector. That's normal. That's not crazy. You're not seeing like Open Door, for instance, which if you're in Open Door and you made money, great. That's awesome for you. But I think of it as just more of a meme name, and maybe they'll make the pivot. And I do think that they hired a good CEO, so there's a possibility there. But yeah, we're not seeing like meme froth stuff. We're not seeing crazy speculation. A lot of the names that ran up really hard, like Palantir, it's kind of cooling off despite, the business will do great this year. So I think we're in a pretty healthy place overall in the market, despite certain sectors and certain segments that are up double digits. That's not really that uncommon. It's a stock pickers market. I always like those better than like if we were up 2% every single day on the S&P 500, that's when I'd be concerned.
Yeah, number one. Number two, the reason why I'm not concerned, Matthew, is because we did see a big drawdown in high beta names in November and December. And it just so happened that we just reset the clock on Jan 1st, and we're just seeing the bounce back from that drawdown in December, November. So it's not like, we're reaching all-time high. Like Nebius, for example, has run up 20% year to date. It's not at all-time highs. It was at 140 in October, right? And so we just had a big drawdown, and we're just recovering from that drawdown. That's why I'm not really concerned about a lot of the names that are up. People want us to have a 3-hour stream tonight, Roy, and answer all the questions because apparently we're their Friday night entertainment.
We'll see. We got a show after this too. We might add some at the end. So no problem.
Add some questions at the end. Yeah. Also, hold on, Jason. Thank you. I mean, you could definitely donate to ask a question, but thank you for the support and congrats, Roy, on almost being done. And thank you, Jarrett, for becoming a member. When are Palantir earnings, Roy?
Palantir earnings are February, I think, 2nd or 3rd. Yeah, 3rd. I think.
You want me to share your screen?
Yes. So two things real quick. So this was one. Revenue return contributions by region, United States dollar, and what actually contributed. And so you can see the U.S. was actually this is the overall index. I think the S&P 500 was up 19%. Earnings contributions we can see was by far the most. Not a signal of the bubble. Now things are running a little bit, and there's some reasons for it. But yeah, what's been happening over the last year does not indicate bubble. Versus if you look at Europe or emerging markets. Multiple contribution has been a big part of that. That's black. And when you see that initially, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And it could mean that revenue is reaccelerating. That can usually be a forward indicator. But what has to happen is eventually stocks, or rather broader markets need to justify that. Now, the other indicator was this right here. Seth Golden originally shared it. I don't think it's from him, is looking at the tech sector specifically where people are calling bubble. We actually see valuations are flat over the past 2 years. based on the 2-year cumulative change in forward PE. So in other words, what's happening as far as stock prices running up is actually fueled by real earnings, not just speculation and multiple expansion. So I think we're in a really healthy place. I mean, just look at the multiples on NVIDIA. It's trading cheaply. Like actually most of the Mag 7, for instance, and not even just the Mag 7, but the forward price to earnings is under 30 for most. Now, Tesla, way out there, and Apple, but the rest, we're healthy.
Yeah. Roy, did you know that SoFi is dead? It's going to go to zero?
Good to know. I guess I should get it
first. I don't understand how we're back to 30 questions. I didn't even bookmark anything.
New member and gift.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We dismissed those. So we're at 27 questions. Crypto charts are looking pretty good. So BMNR would be a great buy here, possibly a pretty low MNAV as well.
I mean, like the low MNAV or right around 1 is tough. You're kind of in the doldrums there. If you're really under or really over, there's a lot of things BMNR could do. But yeah, I mean, it's an Ethereum play. If you think Ethereum is going up, it functions as a leverage bet on Ethereum. It's been going down, so same has a stock price. So, but I think you're right. I think there's going to be a lot happening in Ethereum, and that should lead to price action, performance being on the upside. We'll see.
This is actually a good point. There is a government shutdown fear by end of January, and the markets are forward looking, so they could be pricing that in as early as next week. So just be aware.
Yep.
If you're upset at BMNR, are you getting into? Ooh, this is a second question by Matthew. He's getting a little greedy, but I've bookmarked. I think there's like 3 or 4 by Matthew here.
He's asking too good a question. So
I mean, look, it's first come, first serve.
Yeah.
If you're upset at BMNR, are you getting into another Ethereum digital asset treasury company? I'm assuming your thesis hasn't changed any. Thesis is intact. I would still rather be in BMNR versus the other ones because it is the biggest one, and therefore it is the most well-known one. And from an institutional perspective, that really matters. So the liquidity is important in these, and I would still rather be in BMNR.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, if I was, the liquidity absolutely matters. And these type of plays we've seen tend to get into just one name. And I was curious if SPEC could break into kind of a duopoly there. I would just rather be in BMNR and Ethereum, and that's it. I like some of the things that SBET's doing. I like some of the things that ETHL is doing, but yeah.
Catherine says, not a question. Do you guys think there's going to be a government shutdown? So that's an interesting statement.
Yeah, probably.
Really?
I mean, it seems like that there's some negotiation going both ways, but American politics, man, like
politics everywhere.
They fight worse than school kids.
I mean, that's one of your founding principles, man. It's like, take no shit, give lots of shit.
And to be fair, like a lot of people think, not to go into like a history rant, but that's just like a novel thing. I mean, like it doesn't take much time to actually understand that's not the case. The aberration was under George Washington, one party system, or really there weren't parties. And while he was president, they held some of it down. But man, the early founders, some of those guys hated each other to the point of like the classic example, Hamilton and Burr.
Yeah. Igor says, Catherine is wild trying to sneak in a question. And Tevis always takes the bait. It's because I love you guys. That's why.
Just from the ladies, you know.
It's just, I mean, I didn't even see that. That was just a good question. All right. Let's see. Are you done buying VG at this price? What is it at even, Roy? $750?
It's been up quite a bit. I still think it's attractive here for the long term. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was under 6 for a while. So
wow.
I like my average. I'll just say that. But I hit my 5% of my portfolio weight. Part of that was price movement, and part of it was some big buys. Very in the very part of the year. I didn't want to mess around with VG. I wanted to get in there and not make mistakes like I've done in the past. So I'm thankful for that. Now, if VG falls, I'll likely add more. If I get more funds, I'll keep it around 5% because I really like that play for the long term, and I want some energy exposure. I think LNG is really good. I'm still hoping to have like a deep dive with Matt Money, but he's a good guy to follow if you want more. But For now, I'm going to pause.
You're right, man. I should have been in VG versus Next. Matt Money did me dirty.
Man, I told you. I was like VG, but I couldn't tell you all the reasons why because I didn't know Next. I just was like, well, the thing is, like, they're actually having revenue right now, and there's going to be a glut or a perceived glut anyway. I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think of LNG in a few years, right when Next actually starts being able to have some revenue. So it's not the best for them. They'll be totally fine, but having revenue is very important. So it's coming for Next. Maybe that's a pivot at some point, but I don't know nearly enough about them.
I'll put up this guy, even though he's not in the queue, because I just feel bad. He's asked the question like 5 times. We don't have any thoughts on Celestica unless Roy does, but I don't think either of us follow that name.
Never actually heard of them. So yeah.
We'll add it to the list and then maybe take a look at it, but no thoughts as of right now. Sorry, dude. Okay, next question in our queue. From 1 to 10, how insane would it be to be 100% in Nebius? It depends on what your goals are. It depends on how long you want to hold, but 10.
Yeah, probably a 10. High beta. Like if you have like $1,000 and that's your portfolio, and for you, you can lose it. I mean, when your portfolio is tiny, I think it makes sense to be even more concentrated around those core convictions. When you have so I'll just say this right now, I'm on track, actually past it, to reach my retirement goals. They're not like lofty to buy like a private island or anything. And so I'll be a little bit more conservative versus, if I was 22 years old and I was nowhere close or just starting out, I'd be more aggressive. But that was just me. That's a question you need to ask yourself, but probably 10.
I'm sorry, I read that question wrong. I thought it asked 1 to 10. How, like, should I be in Nebius 100% 1 to 10? And that's why I answered 10. So I guess I'm a 1. Sorry, Roy. Don't mean to discount the whole thing you said. That was very responsible.
In Nebius, man, I don't know. I think Nebius is a fine country, but there's some speculation there. And if I was using a sizable amount of money, I couldn't do it. No. And I say that as a guy that was 90% Palantir in 2022. But
yeah, I mean, I don't think I would put 100% in Nebius, but would I go higher than 20%? Yeah.
Like if you have, if that you're looking at and you're like this, you've done the due diligence, you figured out what you're comfortable with. And you're like, hey, I'm comfortable with 50% of my portfolio being in that. There's people that'll tell you that's wrong. Really, only you can answer that question. But it makes sense to concentrate on your core convictions. Just make sure you're right.
Yeah, guys, stop asking questions because I want to throw them up. I'm not going to fall for it again. Catherine screwed all you guys over. I'm not putting up more questions out to the queue. Are you guys cutting your BMNR? Katie asks. We did answer this. We are going to be trimming our BMNR at some point or another, but I don't think either of us are fully cutting of BMNR as a result of that shareholder meeting yesterday.
Yeah, tiny trim already for me. Give it 2 Mondays, and then I'll figure out what I'm doing.
Nebius sounds like a planet. I agree, Gerald. It's a very astute observation. Matthew Johnson at it again. He's stealing all of your questions, guys. I think retail is not liking Duolingo. The price target that you would potentially buy back in. I think it's going to find some support here because there's a lot of like the breakout started when it was at the 140 range. Maybe I can throw it up on screen actually. Here, I'll show you guys. It just did a full round trip. So you can see like it basically, what do you call it? Hold on, how do I do this? It was chilling here for a while and then it broke out. It broke out of here and now it's chilling back here. So I think it's going to find some support around here. Again, remember, I don't do technical analysis. But if I was to bet, I would say it's fairly oversold. Obviously, it depends on earnings. I think cheap can always get cheaper. But yeah, I don't know. It really depends on the company. If the company is something that I believe in, I'd rather buy something that's a little bit more expensive for a terrific company than the other way around. It could fall lower. I mean, I wouldn't be I'll definitely take another look at some point or another, 130, 120 if it does break that 145, you know, the last place it bounced. But yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Throw this up real quick. This is price to sells, not necessarily the best measure, but I think it works well just to look at the actual company itself rather than compare it with peers. So we can see where it's at right now. It's a 5.93 for the sector. It's not great, but it's not nearly as expensive as it was up here at like 22 times. So we can see where it kind of bottomed here back in early 2023 at 5.5. We can see that it did trade under this, when it's newer to the market as well. And of course, not growing quite as much. Now, if we hide that and then we show forward price to earnings, whoops. Now, I don't think that they're necessarily positioned for price to earnings, but you can see, again, it's not trading quite as low as it was, or it's actually right around that range. It fell a little bit, it looks like, to 32 or so. So I would say that there's more to fall. Names like this, especially when they're trading at an extreme premium, when the thesis changes and the narrative changes, they drop like a rock. We've seen that with the trade desk as well last year. This was one of those names. We may see in the future, Robinhood, Palantir get hit up with it if the narrative changes and something else changes with that company as well. I doubt it on those, but it can happen. So yeah, for myself, this also is in, software category, broad category. And a lot of those names, I do see some questions on CRM and Adobe, for instance, are really, really beaten up right now. If I had to pick a software name, I don't think I'd pick Duolingo.
That's interesting. Duolingo IPO was like 140. I think that might have been pre a couple of splits.
Yeah, the share market cap has increased by quite a bit since then.
Oh, is it a 3-day weekend this weekend? We don't have the market on Monday?
Martin Luther King Jr. holiday.
Yeah. What am I going to do?
Yeah, I said the same thing. I'm like, what do I do Monday? Thankfully, we have real jobs, Tevis. So,
but I want the markets to avoid my real job, though.
Yes. Escapism.
Okay. Let's see. Does BMNR own about 4% of Beast Industries? I don't know what the valuation of Beast Industries actually.
Yeah,
if anybody knows,
not the press release. That was another thing where it's like sometimes those things don't get released, so it's not unusual. But yeah, was it Chamath that was also an investor in Beast Industries, if I recall correctly?
Yes. Yeah. And he said that with so much pride. He's like, would we be invited to invest in Beast Industries where Chamath is an investor? And I'm like, sell. Just PTSD all across the board.
I think a lot of people would be invited if they're like, here's $200 million.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, I don't know, man. Just got here. Are we selling or holding? We're holding, Ben. We're holding. Remember, guys, this is just an ETH treasury play. The shareholder meeting or whatever don't matter. Not a question, but I guess I do have a little bit of extra room for bookmarking more questions. So the first ones that I'll see that are good, I'll bookmark them. How long did Roy hold that BMNU position? You have BMNU?
I got rid of it I think at 7 or around 7, and I think I bought it at, well, I actually wrote it was 100 units, so it was like so small. I didn't, but I had a little bit of money left over, so I wrote a cash figure put. It did not fare well, so it was down 60-something%.
Mm-hmm. Tevis have a peek at SYNA Synaptics involved with IoT and AI with human interface tech. They were the ones that developed the click wheel interface originally for the iPod. Thank you, Mitt. And he said, oh, that's not related to that. Okay, let's, this was an interesting one. If I can freaking find it. I don't know where it went. I'll find it eventually. But do we want to do a Q&A on Monday, Roy? Just the entire stream is just Q&A?
Maybe.
Igor says he got into it. Did you get that fiscal partnership yet? No, I did not. Matthew Johnson again. We're gonna ban this guy. He also has another question queued up. We're gonna ban this guy from asking questions. This guy's too good at this. Yeah, Roy, you need to hook me up with fiscal, I guess. I don't know, man. They don't love me. Are any of you guys in Zeta yet? I am going to bring this up just to talk our book. We have a show tomorrow called The Stock Tank, and we have invited Wealthmatica to talk Zeta to us. What time is that show, you may ask? That's a great question because I also need to refresh my memory.
And I've not I need to do that actually when we get off. Go ahead.
It's at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So
Eastern
you're
time.
7 p.m. Eastern time, the Stock Tank, where we have Persian jewelry salesman Roy. We have me that looks fucking awful, and Tanner. Honestly, I think Tanner looks like the best one of all, except he said he hated his.
Yeah, he's like, who is that? I'm like, dude, that's literally you.
Yeah. He has like the classic like Kevin O'Leary black suit, red thing. But yeah, 7 p.m. for Zeta tomorrow. You guys should definitely check that out. All right, back to our questions. Can you explain, dude? Just look at the tweet. I literally explain in the tweet why I think it's going to go to 130 next week. What time is FinTech Fridays again today? We explained this. There's no more FinTech Fridays. It is a figment of your imagination. We're going live again at 9 p.m. with Steven, and we're gonna talk about stuff there. We can do a Q&A period there, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
Blake Anderson says, so you're not bullish, Mr. Beast. Can't he attract attention and build a platform on? I am bullish, Mr. Beast.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that'll be a creative, very likely. The thing is, my perspective is BMNR is not like most fintechs, which really benefit strongly from marketing and brand presence and awareness. Ethereum doesn't really need that. BMNR, despite the app and whatever else they might be building there, they also don't really need that. So I don't get it. Now, it's if you go back to our comments, so my big issue is not the amount, it's more the timing and the way that it was announced too. Like right after you can no longer vote for that 50 billion allocation is when they announced this, which seems like it's a pivot away from their main goal, which it is a sub goal of the moonshot. So yeah.
So do they have the approval? Where's the 8K?
What we've heard is the approval. I think we'd hear otherwise, but yes, we need to have that 8K. Is it the 8K on this?
I don't know.
Whatever SEC form it is.
Get it soon, I guess.
Yeah.
Rocket Lab and Nebius buys now or wait for further pullbacks? My guy,
Rocket Lab is pretty expensive. Yeah, these are high beta stocks. They'll give you typically opportunities to enter, but the right time to enter is when you're like, hey, it makes sense for me at this price and I like it. Don't wait for the cheapest possible. I messed that up with Tesla way back in the day where I was waiting for $100 and it fell to 101. And so I ended up buying it at 140.
What is this show called? I know Roy didn't come up with the title. Is Steve put up a stream about something?
Steve said Stock Market Unfiltered, which is not the name we talked about last night, but it's close. So yeah, we just kind of have a working name to start. We'll figure out the name today. There was a lot of good suggestions. We had some more communication last night too. So I think we'll probably finalize our name in the next week or so.
Yeah. That's enough out of you, Matthew Johnson. No more comments, okay? You've asked 3 questions. I'm just kidding. We love you. With that said, who is a better ETH DAT?
I still think BMNR.
Yeah. So what's the play? Actual ETH? We both own that. When do you think they're going to reach the 5% target? Now, this is an interesting one.
I mean, it's going to be this year. But how soon? It really depends, and that's why I want to see what happens on Monday. Are they going to be like ridiculously aggressive now that they have that authorization? The most indicators have them just trading at a very slight premium over their MNAV, um, and also what's going to be liquidity like from the retail side. So I would guess, if we had to put a month on it, I'd say maybe August or September.
What? August or September, my guy? No. No.
You think sooner? Much
Much
sooner?
earlier. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think like April.
maybe.
Maybe even sooner than that. It's
Yeah,
interesting because when he hopped on stage, he was like, "Oh, we actually had this as a 5-year target, and we have achieved it in 6 months." And I'm like, "Okay, well then it wasn't a real 5-year target, then was it? Because you just want to give yourself a lot of buffer there." But I mean, they can't really control what their stock would do. Their stock could have stayed under MNAV for 4 years. So
yeah.
I understand that, but I also think they will dilute as much as they possibly can, and I think buying Ethereum on the open market does drive the price higher, so they can't buy it for cheap. But they don't give a shit about buying for cheap anymore, Roy, because they have 50 billion shares. So I would be buying, like, this is what I would do. This is in the last 6 months, they've been buying Ethereum OTC so as to not drive the price up too much because they've only had authorization up to 500 million shares. But now that they have 50 billion, dude, just buy it on the open market. Ethereum goes up, BMNR goes up with leverage even harder. Your MNAV is back intact, and then you just keep repeating.
So the tough thing though is, at least we're estimating, they're right around their MNAV, and that's just a tough spot to be in. Now this is estimated; they could be higher, they could be, whatever, and they've taken pains to not dilute under their one MNAV. So if because of stockholder perception, people exiting or wanting to exit, it's a lot harder to sell into that without diluting yourself, causing the stock price to collapse, and then being well under MNAV like the other digital asset treasury. So I think that they might take it a little bit slower than you're thinking, but it just depends on a lot of factors, frankly.
I think we found our name. I absolutely think we should be called Stock Market Clearing Center Podcast. Bro, I'm telling you, this one is a winner.
Yeah.
The top part is going to be convincing Steve because he's way more serious. But like, we can use the logo, and it's going to be great, man. Stock market,
That's be awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
we can outvote him 2-1.
Yeah.
Stock Market Clearing Center. It's going to be weird if, like, a year from now, the joke is like old and we're still called that. But I don't know. Do you guys like it? Ian, thank you so much for the $5. What is your opinion on Lending Tree and Rocket companies? Lending Tree and Rocket companies. And those are two
thank you for that donation. Lending Tree in Rocket companies. If you
and Rocket companies.
And okay, yeah, and would make sense. Rocket, I mean, it just depends on how the mortgage market goes. They do a little bit more than that. They of course bought out part of their competition too. Eventually, that space is cyclical. If we see that space starting to heat up, I mean, they're going to do very well. Otherwise, you'll just probably be range bound for a little bit. Lending Tree, I don't know as well. A lot really depends on what happens with that 10% credit card cap, which I think we all agree it's not going to happen, or at least it's not going to happen before midterms. But I think I don't know enough about that individual company. So
I don't know enough
runners.
about them. I know that Rocket Mortgage, right?
Yeah, RKT.
Yeah, they've always traded at a discount. So
they're up 17% year to date. Wow, congrats.
Yeah, but what did they do last year?
Well, it's up 100% over the last year.
Congrats. That's a big win. It's crazy, man. Like, the market is so big that you always find these names that just have crazy performance. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. I heard about that in 2022 or whatever.
Yeah, in the summer last year, I was kind of looking at it a little bit. I'm like, I'll just get more SoFi because they're positioned in the mortgage space too. And that's the thing, is you can't be in all of them. But yeah, obviously they're I mean, like even the multiple, well, the PE, they're not optimized for that though. But I think for Rocket, now I've not kept up with the company, but just looking at the consolidation that's happened, it's kind of like what happened with Coinbase during the previous crypto winter, where a bunch of their peers got bought out, consolidated, merged, and that cleared a lot of the brush for Coinbase to just really explode, and frankly, other companies that are involved in the crypto space. But you could have a similar thing in Rocket. The question is just when that's going to happen. Now, rates have fallen some, but we're a long way off from actually seeing the housing market heat up. Congrats, though.
That's actually an interesting point, right? Because yeah, as rates continue to fall, then obviously Rocket is going to benefit from that.
Yeah, the tough thing is like the 30-year mortgage is inferred by the 10-year Treasury, which is falling, but that's not something that the Fed controls. So.
Okay, hold on. We had to pause this broadcast to read Mike's or Ian's donation. Thank you so much, Ian. Mike said something. So BMNR buys paper. They're not buying actual ETH now, just like Sailor, because when they get called, that's when they put your money where your mouth comes to fruition.
You can actually look on chain and
Cool.
see that they are buying ETH. It's not paper. That's one of the nice things about like the blockchain, is you can see it. You don't have to just trust and say, well, hopefully they are actually buying it. And in this argument, what you said makes sense if you're talking about like physical silver, physical gold. I mean, Ethereum exists online. There's not physical Ethereum.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Honest question, Kevin asks, for as much as Musk overpromises and underdelivers, core business flatlining / declining, why even risk your capital on overvalued Tesla when there are 499 other stocks in the S&P 500?
I'll answer first because my position for Tesla is so minuscule.
I'll get a water
not
while
even
you do
half a percent of my portfolio, and that's why I have enough that just keeps it on the radar for me, just barely. And I would love to add at a lower valuation, but yeah, you're right. I can't add here. There are actually some other robotics plays starting to emerge in the market. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to keep Tesla for sure, and I do think the Optimus will do well, although it's probably going to take longer than classic Musk timeline. So, but they're an incredible company. I don't think anybody really doubts that. I guess there are some people that do for whatever reason. And very vertically integrated. They uniquely handle software and hardware, and that stacks very well. And that's very, very hard to do. So I want a piece of that company. I'm not willing to sell my remaining shares, even though it's very small. Love to add, but yeah, I can't here. I just can't. Tevis?
Sorry. You're like a waiter. Wait for me to have food in my mouth, and you're like, hey.
That's a strategy generally, is I'll wait for the right moment, and then we'll just have dead silence. I love it. And that's intentional.
Yeah. I'll just zoom in the camera so you guys can just watch me eat in dead silence. Look, man, Tesla. Yeah. Tesla. I made a good amount of money on Tesla, holding it. I think it's always been narrative driven. It's always going to continue to be narrative driven. And the upside is something that far outstrips the down. Like, even if I were to buy, I don't know, 100 shares or 10 shares, whatever, today at this valuation, and I hold it over the long term, and they do become a key player in robotics, and they do become a key player in AI, that will pay me multiples of what my original investment is. And so I think the explosive upside potential driven by the narrative of this guy essentially defying the odds multiple times over in his companies is what keeps a lot of Tesla investors invested. So that's, what I would say. It's too expensive of an opportunity cost for me personally to not have at least a small sliver of exposure into Tesla. I'm not going all in. I used to be 50% Tesla at one point, but obviously, like I've done very, very well. I invested in 2019. Right now, it's very small, percentage. It's like 4%, 3%.
So a slight pivot from that before we get to the next question. Something that I had not thought of until this week. There's a presentation that Air Test Systems did at Needham. So I mentioned while you stepped away that a lot of people are invested in Tesla for the robotics and for Optimus. And there's not many publicly traded companies unless you have access to, that you're what's the term? The type of investor that's validated. No, that's not right, but that you can invest credited. Yeah, accredited. Which I'm not. So the reality is most of us are like, well, it's basically these guys are bust. Now, NVIDIA, I think, is still a play there. Air Test Systems actually is too, just because if you look at what's happening in the space, robotics is too far out. I think for this to be a part of the thesis, it's just a free call option, honestly, between that and also the idea of data centers in space. The higher the cost, of course, and the complexity of the chipsets, and also the higher the cost of failure, and it's hard to see much higher than like when robotics is real, then you need higher and higher testing standards. You need more throughput. You need to move your testing systems, your automated testing systems further upstream as well to be able to do this. And Air Test Systems is perfectly positioned for that, whether it's, whatever substrate. So I was like, man, I never thought about that. They're actually potentially a robotics play just because that space is going to need that testing too, and a lot more rigorous. And these are, by the way, not going to be built on silicon anymore. So it's going to be one of the three substrates. Probably silicon carbide, but we'll see.
Okay. I actually want to bring up something that Igor brought to my attention. So thank you, Igor. Chamath posted just an hour ago, and we'll read this together. This is Wolf of Dubai. That's it just posted here. Around BMNR now holds roughly 4%. So it is 4%, I think, according to this. Beast Industries is valued around $5 billion. 200 million would be 4%. And the Chamath then commented saying, I haven't really talked about this, but about 5 years ago, I invested 45 million in a Series A that created Beast Industries by bringing together all of Jimmy's various business interests under one umbrella. Now, this has paid multiples. So 5 years ago, I mean, Mr. Beast was not nearly as big as he is right now. Creating Beast Industries allowed us to streamline our capital allocation and double down on the long-term opportunities like financial services, telecoms, a creator marketplace. Jimmy has come a long way in those past 5 years, and the business is just starting to get going. I'm very excited for him to have a chance to achieve his ambition. He's a very special entrepreneur. Kind of interesting that he commented around this. I think, again, the play here is the distribution network that Mr. Beast provides and having a call option on further growth ahead for Mr. Beast and the entire company. So anyways, let's get now back to the questions. Anything to add there, Roy?
No, I think you nailed it.
What price would Duolingo be a buy? Yeah, I think we answered this already. Well, what price would you buy it at, Roy? Is there a price that's too good to pass up?
I mean, there is. And I think that the AI disrupting Duolingo is misunderstanding what Duolingo is. Plus, there's a decent possibility that they're able to make a pivot into more of a learning platform. We've seen indicators of that with what they've been doing with chess. And they've talked about it a little bit elsewhere too. But I don't know that I'm really that interested. So maybe if it falls under 100, I'll take a look. Yeah, no, I'll have to take a look for sure. But that's, down another 50%. Well, I guess not quite 50%, 33%.
I don't have call. Do I have call options for March? I don't have call options for March. I think I have call options for January of 2027. I have spreads for January of 2027,
Same.
and I'm keeping them on. But I don't think I have anything for March right now. Um, the options is one thing I don't share as much in the portfolio updates that I do monthly because they fluctuate so often that I don't want to just confuse people. And so I have puts on BMNR, but those are for April 17th expiry. Speaking of, how far do I write in the money cash secured puts? Generally speaking, about so if you asked me 6 months ago, I would say like on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks. But now I'm doing it like a month out, sometimes 6 weeks out. I'm finding that that's just better for me. If you have an aggressive move upwards and you blow through, that strike price, and you're only up 40% in a week, well, then I'll just take that and write somewhere else. But otherwise, I think that the time decay is just too good to pass up if I'm writing out, a month or so.
Leave it to you to find a degenerate way to play one of the safer strategies out there.
Hey, man, I don't know. Earnings is coming up, and I'm definitely having cash secured puts over earnings on stuff that I like,
Yeah, that's the key.
I'm writing it less and less on just random. Like, I'm not writing anymore on. I don't want to get trapped in like the Duolingos and the Nexts anymore. I don't really care. So I'm just writing on 3 names on Nebius, SoFi, and BMNR. Even less so now. But those were the 3 names that I was writing on, and then obviously writing on Meta and Amazon to later into a position, and Nvidia, which I have open, to later into a position, right? But all of those names, I would be more than happy to own more shares at those prices. So it is what it is.
At what price would you buy more air test systems?
Where it is right now, I just need to find the money.
All right.
So air test systems is like a fraction of a percent in my portfolio, but I really, I don't know enough about them, but just off of Roy's conviction, I want to make them like a good, 3 to 5%. Because I'm only in like 8 positions, right? So 5% sounds like a lot, but it's not really a lot in the grand scheme of things.
All right.
I really am looking forward to the presentation tomorrow as well around Zeta, because I could see, if I have moonshots, let's say, and I have 3 or 4 moonshots and they comprise of maybe 10% as a bucket, I would have Robinhood in there as a 3 to 5% position. I'd have maybe HIMS as a 3% position, and then I would have a split between Zeta and Air as like 2% positions each, and that's my moonshots bucket.
Zeta fell another 6% today. It's trading just over 20. So
yeah,
I love that. I'm sorry for you guys that are in it, but it is an attractive company. It's a company I don't understand well enough to get in at this point, but it is one of those that's like, maybe I should think about this more. And that's the whole point of the stock tank thing, is I'm going in with an open mind. And if it's trading at $40, I'd be like, I don't know, $20. I don't know. Yeah.
What presentation around Zeta? Happy Blue Dolphin asks. Well, we are going to do a stock tank episode on Zeta at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. You have it right here. You can click this notify me button and you'll get a notification when we do that.
Three are waiting, but you're going to be waiting a little while.
Yeah, 3 are waiting. It's going to be about a 23-hour wait, but we'll get there eventually. Let me also throw the link in my chat so you guys can just hit the notification bell. It ain't easy being a content creator, I can tell you that much. You sit in a chair and you talk to yourself all day. All right, I'm pinning the Zeta stock tank to the chat, guys, so you have access there if you need to. Okay. Do you think CRM and Adobe are priced way too low? Are these the pain pals, or do you see a recovery? Roy, I'll let you go first.
I've been outspoken against CRM ever since Mark Benioff started acting just frankly crazy and calling some of his internal teams crazy. Agent Force has been a debacle, and the software, frankly, is parasitic. And most of the relationship between Salesforce and their clients, it's not a well-loved product. And I've used it. I used it plenty in my previous position. So I would not touch Salesforce, period, at all. Adobe is kind of interesting. Figma is also pretty interesting too, and it's been beaten up. I mean, a lot of these software names really have. If I had to pick a software name, it would probably be, well, depending on how you consider AppLovin.
Wow.
Probably AppLovin if it's a software name.
Bro, have you seen Figma lately?
Well, not this week, but yeah, I know it's been
$29.
So yeah.
Wow. This is going to get interesting. I got to.
Yeah, this is one of the things that can happen is like the whole sector will sell off and just say, no, this is terrible. And if you can, as you assess these companies, find like the strongest. Now you might have to wait a little while for that sector to rebound, but it's not terrible. And also sometimes this can lead to consolidation in the space. But yeah, Salesforce I wouldn't touch. Adobe is interesting, and also Figma is interesting.
What are they? They're on track to do about $1 billion in revenue.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've looked at those numbers.
Yeah. I mean, look at quarterly, right? Like about 300 million a quarter. I'm talking about Figma.
Yeah.
About 300 million a quarter, 1.2 billion, and they're at 14.5 billion market cap. And they're growing about 40%. Dude, I gotta keep this on a short list just to look at earnings. When that comes out.
Here's estimates.
Sorry. Hold on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're looking at 2026 estimates of actually it's 700 million or so. So it's not at $1 billion yet, but yeah, they keep revising. This is interesting. There's been revision as far as long-term estimates, and yet nevertheless they continue to fall. So
I don't think they have enough coverage though yet. I think
there's not a lot in price targets. I mean, take price targets always with a grain of salt.
You're looking at Figma, Roy, or no?
Yeah. Oh,
Figma.
Big.
In the second one, yeah.
I was like, wow. And yeah, of course. Okay. There we go. Yeah,
revisions downward.
Price targets there. Let's look at revenue. Yeah, you're right. $1 billion and then 1.2. Well, yeah, that's still actually really nice growth. 2026.
Yeah, about 30% growth. Is there? Do you guys know if there's a content creator that talks predominantly about Figma that we can do a stock tank with? Because I'm interested in learning more about it. Probably taking a look at earnings. But if you guys know of anybody that I can reach out to, let me know.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that one. I did get in at the IPO, made some money, sold, and I'm interested. I liked the product. So
yeah.
This is
Thank you, James. Really appreciate that, and thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate the kind words there. Look, I think with regards to CRM and Adobe, honestly, man, I've been having this idea, and I want you to tell me if it's a stupid idea. It might be, but I don't know. There's so many names that are like absolutely beat down, like Nike, Adobe, CRM, Trade Desk, whatever. I kind of just want to take like 10K, and I want to put $1,000 in each of these names, and just bet on their recovery. And I think maybe some of them might go down even further, but so many of them are so beat down that I think they're going to bounce back and just revert to the mean, essentially, that you could see a good. I just don't know which ones are going to be the winners. You're probably going to be net negative if you don't hold for like 2 years or 3 years, but.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I think that's a terrible idea. I think if you're going to do something like that, maybe do this right here. This is in the tech sector, software sector, a lot of SaaS names here. So this is IGV. That would be your broad play if you're looking for a rebound. Now you can see over the last year, I mean, it's been tough in this space. And so if you're going to play a rebound, either pick, like one, maybe two names that you're like, oh man, Duolingo is going to kill it. to do that. Or if you don't know, but you're like, hey, it's just undervalued and needs a rebound, maybe something like this. I think that's a better play anyway. The problem is cheap can always get cheaper. And with some of these names, like I know that maybe we'll end up talking about this with Steve, but like CRM is just listen to the CEO, how he's talking, how he's reacting. This is not what you want out of a CEO. I'm not saying like he's doing anything wrong or nefarious, but the way that he's talking, the way he's positioning himself, the interviews that he's done, the way that the Dreamforce thing was done as well, it's very clear that Benioff is pretty convinced that CRM is being disrupted. Now he's not saying that, but the way he's saying other things, it's not good, man. It is not good, and I think he's lost his way. He's a great salesperson, but he's struggling to sell an inferior product in the face of relentless AI companies that execute far better than anything he could do. And Palantir is just one of many.
Man, I don't know if I should say this on camera or not, but I had a crash out this week over Salesforce.
Oh yeah,
and honestly, royally fuck those guys like nobody's business, because we got locked into a contract, and we obviously didn't want to renew. And they were like, oh, well, if you don't, like, you have to tell us so and so in advance. And if you don't tell us in advance, you're renewed automatically for another year. And it's like, it's in the fine print here. And there was like easily like 5 or 6 of these different clauses in their contract. And it was honestly the most disgusting thing. I felt so extorted. And their product is like, it's so bad, Ben. And we were working with like one of those partners, and we just paid them a stupid amount of money, and they gave us no work. And at the end, they were like, oh, well, why don't we just call off this relationship because we couldn't build the thing that you wanted us to build. And we're like, okay, like, so do we get the money back? And they're like, oh, no. And I was just like, man, I would just burn it all with fire. I absolutely hated every second of my experience with Salesforce, and any company that I go with from here on out, definitely not dealing with Salesforce again. Just, I don't even want to entertain the idea. Thankfully, I'm in a position of leadership where I can make the calls of what CRM I want to go to. Don't want to do Salesforce.
Yeah, I've literally never met anyone, and I'm sure there are a few people out there that don't work for Salesforce that love the product. That's never been my experience. And believe me, we used it literally every day until I was in training at the job that I worked. A couple of different products. It's substandard. It's a parasitic relationship. Their sales strategy is high pressure, just like that, with all sorts of different clauses because they want to capture you for life with a terrible Frankenstein monster mess product. And now AI is capable of disrupting that, and increasingly so. What they're doing, like, they're going to be alive for a long time. I wouldn't like bet on them like going to zero anytime soon, but they're going to be less and less significant as time goes on because people freaking hate them. They do.
Yeah. And I hope that they get disrupted as a consumer. Yeah, no, I get you, Alvin. Like, that shouldn't be a reason why you shouldn't invest in them. Cause like, for the fact that I feel this way, like they lock customers in and they're very profitable to do that. I get it. I just, as a consumer, hope they get disrupted, man, because I want a better experience at the end of the day.
So Palantir is not like a one-for-one competitor, but it is enterprise operating software. And the thing with Palantir is, yeah, you sign contracts and everything. And there's people that will, at the end of the contract say, hey, we're going to go a different way. For the most part, people can't get enough, and they rave about how good the product is. And they show up at these AIP cons and they talk for free about the crazy things that Palantir has enabled them to do. That's what you want, not the people that are stuck because of a stupid contract, even though they hate the software. You want them to be like, I need more of the software. I need more right now. And so I'd rather invest in like Snowflake or something like that if I had to choose, not CRM. I think they're in trouble. It's just going to take a long time. And Benioff, he is not the man that you want to be leading that company now. And it's his company. I don't think he can do anything here. He's lost.
Okay, let's get through the last couple of questions, Roy, because we have another podcast starting in 50 minutes. And
All right,
I'm gonna be
quick,
here all night, bro. Roy, why don't you own Nebius? Nate asks.
because I'm done.
All right, great.
I bought it, sold it, bought more NVIDIA, 2i beta, but I am thinking of getting back in, even though it's much higher.
Why can't Apple make their own LLM? Because they're dumb.
They don't innovate anymore.
They're too busy making socks.
Do you think Tim Cook is out this year?
Yeah.
I think there's a good
Actually,
chance.
let's take a look at our friend Polymarket.
There is a prediction on there.
7% that oh, actually, this is interesting. Ooh, okay, hold on. Which CEO will be out before 2027? Tim Cook at 44%, Sam Altman at 19%, Andy Jassy at 18%, Brian Armstrong at 19%, I don't give a shit about Dan Clancy because Twitch is not public, but
Brian Armstrong? What are you talking about? That's free money.
Is it free money?
I mean, why wouldn't it be?
I don't know.
What else is he? He's not going to leave. He's
He's
founder.
been pretty vocal about the crypto legislation. So I don't know.
Why would he quit his own company? That makes no sense. That's a silly
Sam Altman has a way. Like if it was between these two guys, I would bet yes for Sam Altman way more than I would bet yes for Brian Armstrong. Dude, that guy has already gotten ousted once. What are you talking about?
Plus, there's some sketchy things. Like I think 19% is high for Sam Altman, but there's a possibility. Jassy, I don't see either. Tim Cook, maybe. I mean, like it's trading like it. So
yeah, I mean it was at 85% yes in November.
Yeah.
What? Funny enough, somebody asked, "Don't think SoFi gets S&P." Guess what? My last Polymarket page was. SoFi's at 40%. They're the second runner-up after
Vertiv. Yeah, Vertiv deserves it though. Affirm, it should be lower tier than Strategy.
All right, back to our questions. Thoughts on Carney and China deal? Did you hear about this, Roy?
No.
Our supreme leader met with China, and they're now allowing Chinese EVs into Canada. So they reduced the tariffs. I think it's like the lowest tariffs that we have. Like we're tariffing the U.S. way more than we're tariffing China, and we have a pretty big auto industry in Ontario. And the premier, which is like the governor, essentially, like that type of role of our province, wasn't consulted at all. And so all of these auto jobs, we also had, I think it was Honda or Hyundai, one of these guys closed the plant down here like last week. So,
bummer.
Yeah, but like the recession in Canada is actually like quite high. Maybe I can show you
the odds of a recession. You mean?
Yeah, maybe I can show you where we are. What the recession rate is, but it's quite high.
Are gas and energy prices a big part of that too?
The thing is, man, that taxes are so high here that everything just gets inflated because of taxes and over regulation, and so it's just you just can't get by, you know. Anyways, that's. I don't even think I want to share more thoughts than that.
You're not in a free country. You don't have the First Amendment. So, yeah.
Next question. Do you think it's odd that the face of BMNR is the chairman? Typically, chairman is there for oversight and the CEO runs the company. It's not clear if that's true for BMNR. Great question.
It does seem like that's the case. But I don't know. Like they have so few employees. It's just an unusual, different company. And Tom Lee is involved. So I would be less excited by BMNR if Tom Lee wasn't there.
Yeah, I think the reason why he's there is because he's leveraging his reputation. Can you name me the CEO? Roy, can you name me the CEO?
No.
Exactly. So that's why Tom Lee is there.
We did talk about him when he's hired. I looked at his background and everything, and I think he'll be good for the moonshots, but I can't remember his name. So
I remember Young Kim because he was the latest one that was added. I don't remember the CEO.
Old Kim.
I would struggle to try to pronounce the name if it's not from. Anyways, Sagig says there is a market rotation out of tech and into energy, healthcare, real estate staples. How far do you think it can go? You think it can continue for the entire year? Question mark.
No, there tends to be times like every year or two where people are like, "Hey, tech is dead. It's time for value and value plays or these other plays," and they might do well as well. But that little graph that I showed, at the beginning, looking at tech segment valuations that have changed over the last 2 years of forward price earnings, it's not bubblicious at all. A lot of it's been real growth. You look at the Mag 7, which again drives tech. It doesn't, except for Apple and Tesla, none of it looks egregious. None of it looks costly at all. You look at a lot of the software names that we've been looking at; those aren't bad as well. So no, tech might have a bit of a lull for a little while, but especially what we've seen out of TSMC, which we're going to talk about in the next show, every indicator is tech is going to have another really good year, and I think that it might have year after year after year after year, even though there may be some other good plays out there.
Okay. I think that we will see. I still think tech is going to be strong for 2026. I still think the AI trade is, well and will continue. I understand the macro rotation. People want to hedge their risk and go more risk off in other sectors that haven't received that much love. But I do think that AI is resilient and will continue to be so. Catherine, you should read the SEC statements. This guy is getting a lot of money. I think like 95 million is like just the cash amount, and then there's like stock on top. It's a lot. Like it's very clearly laid out in the proposals. I covered it in one of the videos, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Definitely read it. It's yeah.
Can you throw up two brothers' question as the last question, or maybe second to last? And he says, "What's the next catalyst for BMNR?" Clarity Act. We'll talk a little bit more about that with Steve in the next show as well.
Yes. Okay, let's end off with this question. Any show recommendations that you guys have? What do you think, Roy? Any show recommendations?
Yeah, I think Bootleg Weekly is a really good show.
Good man.
The guys there and it's the best audience in the world too. So that would be mine. I'm assuming they mean like entertainment shows, TV, that sort of thing. I have so little free time right now. How I choose to invest it is not really too much in shows unless my family's watching something. But one that we did watch over the last few months, and I only caught an episode here and there, was Young Sheldon. I know it's been out a long time. If you've not seen it, it is freaking hilarious, especially living in Texas. It's a great show. Fun to watch with the family too. So,
yeah, Stonk Tank. Landman is good. Jeopardy is amazing. FinTech Fridays. I think so. Probably my favorite show, or definitely one of my favorites, is Succession. If you guys haven't seen that, I highly recommend. The new season of Industry just came out, and I'm watching that. That's a great show as well. It's about investing. I'm rewatching The Wire. I've seen it like 3 times already, but I'm rewatching it. Fantastic. And then, this Sunday we have the new miniseries from the George Martin Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So that's, I think, going to be only like 6 or 7 episodes as a miniseries. But make sure you tune in for that. Anyways, thank you, everybody, so much for watching. And we appreciate you all. We will be back at 6 p.m. Eastern. Question mark, Roy?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. We will be back at 6 p.m. Eastern next week.
Tuesday.
Yes, I thought I said that. At a regularly scheduled time for the show. So definitely make sure to tune in for that. And don't go anywhere. wherever you're watching this right now, whatever channel you're on, in 40 minutes, we will have a show with both of us again, as well as Steven. The show doesn't have a name yet, so TBD on that, but hopefully it's going to be called the Stock Market Leadering Channel or Leadering Center. TBD. Anyways, thanks everybody so much for watching Bootleg Weekly. Love you all. See you Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Bye-bye now.